How do you write a first draft? Hi, welcome to WriterQuest. I'm Robert Gibson. Don't forget to subscribe to this video on the button below and click that bell icon so you're notified every time I post a new video. I usually post every other Monday. In this episode, we're going to look into what it takes to write your first draft. For me, the first draft came down to the first question I needed to answer was, do I want to plot it out and write an outline, or do I just want to write and let the story kind of come to me? This is the age-old pantser versus plotter, or outline versus discovery writer, whatever you want to call it. I don't believe there's a right or a wrong way to write your book. For me, I'm what you would call a pantser or a discovery writer, which isn't the best way to describe myself, because every writer on some level has a little bit of plotting or outlining to do when they write their book, because you know there's a couple of story beats that you really want to hit, regardless of what they might be. You know there's a couple, even if it's just one big story icon, you know there's something you need to hit in your story. So there's some sort of outline or plan before you even get going. However, I only had like one or two of those big beats, or in my case, they were scenes that I knew I needed to get into the book. Characters that I knew we needed to meet, and I needed to get the characters to meet that character or whatever it may be. Everything else for me was discovery writing. I sat down and I started writing, and the story just came to me naturally, and the characters and the plot kind of developed alongside each other as I was writing, which for me was a lot of fun, because not only did I get to write the story, I got to kind of discover it and read it while I was doing it. And that was a lot of fun. It was like, I was finding the story. It wasn't fully plotted out. I didn't know where every single plot element was going to go. So it was really a lot of fun to figure that out. However, that's not really telling you how I wrote my first draft. For me, a first draft is simple. I'm going to get the story out onto the paper. I'm not going to worry about the correct punctuation. I'm not going to worry about the best sentence structure. I'm not going to worry about exactly how long my chapters or anything like that needs to be. I'm simply going to get the story out of my head and onto the paper. That was done by setting a goal. Again, like I said in an earlier video that you can probably watch right here, finding the time to write was difficult as far as like, oh, I'll write when I have time. I never had time. So what I had to do is I had to commit to myself and my family that I was going to sit down every night after my kids went to sleep, and I was going to write 1,000 words every single day. I didn't actually hit every single day of writing, but I hit most of them. And once I sat down and I said 1,000 words, and sometimes that 1,000 words came really easy, really fast. Sometimes I'd go over, I'd hit 1,600 words because I really wanted to finish this scene or this paragraph or whatever it may have been. Sometimes that writing was arduous. It was not easy. I had to push myself to get to those 1,000 words. I had to force the story to come to me, and it did. So if you're struggling with your first draft, what I think you should do, and at least what worked for me, and I know it doesn't work for everybody, is to sit down and make yourself a goal of how much you're going to write. Whether it's every day or every week or even a month. You can say, I'm only going to write 5,000 words in a month. Okay, I'm going to write 1,000 words a day like I did. I'm going to write 500 words in the morning before I go to work, or whatever it may be. But set yourself some sort of goal and hold yourself to it, because a lot of people, I want to write a book. And they say, I want to write a book when I have time. And 20 years down the road, they still haven't even put first word on the paper. So make yourself a goal, sit down and write your book. Don't worry about how good it is. Don't worry about how perfect you worded this sentence, or if all of your characters end up sounding like the same guy with a different name. This is the first draft. That's okay. You're really just looking to get your story out. I set several markers. I did 1,000 words a day For my first draft, I wanted my chapters to be roughly 5,000 words. So every 5 days I was writing a chapter. In my later drafts, I shortened that, I tightened things up a little bit, but just to get the story out, I set myself goals. You don't have to set a chapter goal or anything like that. That was just making sure I was progressing the story in a way that made sense. I wanted to make sure that I was hitting these numbers. That's just what worked for me. It may not work for you, and that's okay. But the key to writing your first draft is simply sitting down to write it. For some writers, this is in a notebook. For some, it's typing. For me, it was typing. I typed everything out on my laptop. I can't write by hand that many words. It would take me forever. My hand gets cramped, all those kind of things. So I typed it out. I'm kind of a perfectionist. Not in everything, but in my writing I was. So though it was a first draft and I was really just trying to throw the information onto a page, I still wanted the story to be as ready for publication as I could make it in one writing. So I didn't go back and edit my chapters that I'd written before. I just started from where I was. Sometimes I needed to reread where I was a chapter or two ago to know where I was going for the next one, but I didn't edit those while I was at it. I simply sat down and wrote. However, I tried as best as I could to write something that I wouldn't have to edit much later. So the sentences I wrote, the way I worded them, the voices that I gave my character, the accents that I gave supporting characters, all of that kind of stuff came out through the discovery writing, and I didn't have many of it planned. I think I had one character that I knew in my head how he was going to talk, so I knew how I was going to write him. But everything else just kind of came out while I was writing. However, I really tried to get the best writing I could in that first draft. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to tell you not to worry about that. In fact, I'm going to tell you not to worry about that because that's really not important. How good the writing is in the first draft kind of doesn't matter. You're going to have revisions. You're not going to publish your first draft. So knowing that, don't worry about making your first draft the most publishable thing you'll ever write. You're going to go back and do revisions, and you're going to go through drafts. My book is at least on 4 drafts right now. So you're going on those things. You're going to polish it. You're going to make it better. So don't worry about using the right word or this sentence. Just get it out. For me, I couldn't do that. I had to write my way, my style, in my voice. And for you, maybe you got to do what I did, where you're sitting down and you think about every sentence and you want to know, you have to write it this way and this is how this needs to sound. That's okay. Just remember, it's your first draft. You can go back to it. Get it out on the paper. If it's not perfect, fine. You'll fix it in the second or third or fourth or fifth or whatever draft you're going to work on. But the key to a first draft is to get your idea on paper. Have I said that enough? Your revisions can come later. I sat down and I said I'm going to write 1,000 words a day. And I was aiming for about 100,000 words. So let's say it took me 125 days because, like I said, I didn't necessarily hit that everyday goal. But sit down, make yourself a goal, do your best to stick to it, and don't worry about how good it is. Just get your story down. That's how you finish a first draft. I'm Robert Gibson. Again, subscribe and click that little bell. I'll see you next time. Hi, welcome to WriterQuest. I'm Robert Gibson. On this episode, we're gonna, oh crap.